Hello and welcome to the studio. I'm Peter Stjanovic and this is Breaking the Bubble, 2023's most important tech trends for marketers. I'm joined by some wonderful marketers right now. So Juicy, let's go straight into it. What technology is piquing your interest right now?
For me, the most important one, and always most intriguing one, most difficult one to get right, is the business platform. How does marketing connect all the different data pieces across the business so we understand the customers really well? And for the kind of interesting pieces, of course, AI, but I'm sure our colleagues, and we will discuss that more in a second.
I think the younger generation marketers that are coming in, they want a quick fix, so they don't take enough time. My inbox is full of generated emails that think I want to buy something. Now, you can go and do whatever CRM course you're on, and you learn to do a process, you learn to do a workflow, and you write it. But the trouble is it hits my desk or your desk, and it doesn't relate to me at all. No. So I think, when you're talking about tech, getting the basics right is hugely important. Yeah.
I kind of have this idea with the teams where I sort of say, look, you have to think of it outside in versus inside out. So don't think of it, what are we trying to do for our customers to push them down channels and routes that we want, but what are we doing for them when they've got a job to be done, when they're trying to find out more information, what value can we give them? And if you try and put a value mindset on the content you generate or the systems you're putting in, customer value, not necessarily business value, they both equate actually, but fine. The point being is that you need to always think, what are we trying to help the customer do? Yeah. And that I think is really hard for people that are particularly new to marketing, and they look at all the shiny new systems and tools and think, well, let's just use that one and we can get more stuff out.
And for non-marketers too.
True.
I think, because you're all in the tech sector, that's what connects you all.
Educating each other as well within marketing. I mean, the number of times I see metrics and data and I want to ask, so what?
Totally
it's
agree.
not in context, it's not with a benchmark, it's not meaningful, it's just volume sometimes.
I always ask my guys, what is the role of marketing? And the role of marketing is not just help to sell, it's also helping customers to buy. And the moment you focus on the second piece, you fundamentally change your way of thinking.
I think to your point, we love what we do, clearly, that's why we're doing it, but we're also keen to tell our story and, to your point, flipping it to actually what the customer wants to hear about and learn and how they might engage. And it's something we look at for web journeys, for other online digital journeys, even at events and organising those sort of activities and tactics. What makes it just right for the customer, and flip it round. If that was me, what would I want to hear? How would I want to be invited? How would I want to be interacting?
Does anyone want to start on, if anything you're doing with large language models, machine learning, any kind of this open AI
I think, well, I'm not going to call it an elephant because obviously it's going to be probably larger than that actually, but ChatGPT and everything that's going on there, it's just hitting us. Our teams are asking about it, that it's all over sort of news and marketing, newsletters and online and everything else. But I think my organisation have looked at that already, and we've got we're trying to think of a process of how we use it, because whilst ultimately we want it to be used for good, we know that there are bad actors there, and unfortunately it will be used for negative things.
I've been using it for a year.
Wow,
I use it daily, so I'm one of the biggest advocates for this. It's not the answer to everything, but it gives you good structure, gives you a good starting point, and it can, when you're a marketer, I work at home and my team are remote, so I need to keep the ideas coming or rewrite something, or something like we would say, one of my German colleagues will send me something in his kind of English, and ChatGPT will help it put it into my type of English, and then I'll use Grammarly to check it. So I'm a great one for, these are just tools. They're not world savers. But I have to say, Bard, there's Write as well, there's RYTE, which is another new one. Not so keen on Write, but I use Bard and ChatGPT. I'd say I'm on them an hour a day, using them to check.
There's artificial is in the name. It's artificial intelligence. So it's not thinking for you, but it will pull all the data sources and give you a very good foundation.
That's it.
And
it needs some, it always needs some refinement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, tailoring to whatever you do.
To be honest, I mean, I was in doubt 1.5 years ago about the whole AI, and now I'm embracing it. I have to say that I'm learning every day something new. I'm doing now the solution descriptions and use cases, just because sometimes in my company it's difficult to get the product people to explain the real value to the marketplace. So I asked them different tools to say, what are the key use cases? And I gave the example of software-defined vehicle and what are the use cases. And then each use case you can go deeper. So I actually create entire go-to-market marketing deck based on the framework that they give me, the details they give me. Then I go to my product people and say, tick in a box the ones that we can use, which our solutions can help to solve and which are the ones we don't.
So as leaders then, as you know, all very senior marketers, what's your particular position or responsibility then when it comes to a new tech like this?
There are so many variations of what could come out, and we're all saying, oh, it's great, we're loving it, we're really enjoying, using it and what the output, but we have almost got to set a set of standards for our teams, maybe even for the use within your own organisation, to make sure that it is being used for good.
I used it with my team around storytelling, actually, to skill building. Had them write their own personal narrative in the style of a Pixar movie outline. And then we used ChatGPT to actually generate different styles. And that was actually hilarious. But it got the creative juices going. It got everyone excited about what the potential was, whilst also seeing actually the different use of language and playfulness. It was fun.
When we think about these new emergent or emerging trends, do you have any ideas of how you manage the bubble versus something that's actually going to make change? Do you have sort of those internal or gut instincts that you've honed throughout your years as marketing leaders, or is it something a bit more substantial, or is it just trial and error?
Yeah, I think you have to explore it. You have to use it yourself. I mean, in order to understand the basics, how things operate, you need to play with these tools. How can you guide your teams? How can you update the management team and saying what are the opportunities and threats unless you immerse yourself with the technology? So I think this is a big part of it. And again, it's such early days. So where we are today, and it's accelerating such a big, fast pace, I can only imagine where we are already 1-2 years ahead. And AI, I mean, we use it every day even without knowing. If you look at the Microsoft Office, if you look at the voice-to-text translation on WebEx, I mean, all things real time. Well, what is it? It's all embedded.
I think there's an element of needing to temper that and balance it with the legalities, the corporate brand position, all of that needs to be factored in. And sometimes it's not intuitive for our more junior team members. You need to kind of have that open conversation as well of the cautions and the dimensions to think about, so that it is balanced.
You mentioned earlier on in the conversation about education, the education piece. What does that look like then in the context of what we've been discussing for you and for the team?
I mean, I think it's a constant challenge to teams, actually, to upskill, to data, insights, that building the right mindset, building knowledge of technology tools, and understanding it's everybody's job to do that, not just a focused team, right? That we all have to have a good understanding to be an effective marketer right now. So, I mean, I think that can take many and varied forms, from formal education to networking. I really encourage my team to lift their heads up and look outside the organisation on a regular basis to see what others are doing, to get inspired by others.
Well, thank you all very much for this conversation. Wonderful to have you at the studio at Abbey Road Studios.